And now your man, Donovan Sharpe.
What's up, guys? It's your man, Donovan Sharpe, and welcome to the 497th edition of TSR Live. We are presented by Gorilla Mind Rush, the #1 focus, concentration, energy, and productivity supplement on the market. It is Tuesday, August 6, 2019. We are streaming live to YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So however you're watching, wherever you're watching from, thank you for making the Sharpe Reality Live a part of your daily routine. All right, let's get right to it. Amy Horton, who writes for the website Bold, B-O-L-D-E, she is at it again. And for those of you who are relatively new to the show, we've nicknamed her Amy the Cautionary Tale Horton because she is the poster child for what happens to women when they buy into the feminist lie that sleeping around in your prime fertile years is a good thing. Now, a couple months back, I broke down an article she wrote where she freaked out about the fact that she can't find a boyfriend now that she's in her mid-30s. A few days later, I talked about a post that she did that expressed concern that she is unable to emotionally bond to men after sleeping around for years. Now, one thing I will say about Amy Horton that is a good thing, she always keeps it 100 about what goes on in her dating life. But like most women, she does an about face and blames it on men, blames it on the culture. She blames her failure to get, she blames her failure to get with a man of value on everyone and everything but herself. And the way she does it is both transparent and comical. Well, a few days ago, Paul, who submitted yesterday's topic, as you guys can see up top, shot me another article that she wrote entitled, "I've gotten blown off by men so much lately." I'm going to bring this up here. "I've gotten blown off by men so much lately."
And now your man,
Donovan. Having some production issues here. There we are. "I've gotten blown off by men so much lately that I am literally questioning everything." So let's go ahead and break this down in the customary Donovan Sharpe way and figure out why she's been getting rejected more and more by more men these days. And again, I'm off to a little bit of a bad start, so things, I guess, are off to a shaky start, but we're here. Let's go ahead and get this party started. So she starts, she says, quote, "I used to think my problem was that I wasn't trying to date, but I've met with a rude awakening." She can't write. "I've opened up to the possibility of meeting a man by actually putting myself out there, and all I've gotten is return is a whole lot of rejection. Here is why I am feeling totally hopeless. Number one, I can't even get a date out of a guy. I thought, okay," she says, "I'll go out on dates and see if there's any chemistry. I'll be open to different kinds of men. Can't know what works unless I try. That might be a good approach. That might be a good way to approach dates if I got any. I seriously can't find a guy who will follow through long enough to even ask me out. It is legitimately depressing." So right off the bat, she says, chemistry. I want to see what kind of chemistry we have. Translation. Okay, I need to see if I'm sexually attracted enough for him to have a one-night stand with me. Let's get one thing straight here, guys. What she's not telling us is that she's meeting these dudes on Tinder. And when a man swipes right for a girl on Tinder, his main objection is to sleep with her as quickly as possible. He's not looking for a relationship. He's not looking for a friendship. He's not looking for any of that stuff. He's looking for a quick and easy lay. And if he likes having sex with her enough, he'll put her on his roster. Where Ms. Horton is going wrong is that she's using the "I'm not here to hook up" line on these guys. Now, we all know that when girls say this to you, or you see it in their profile, in their online dating profiles, it means that they are absolutely there to hook up. Nobody, man or woman these days, is on Tinder or any other dating app to find a spouse. Everyone is there for the easy sex. Girls like to do what we call in the manosphere snowflaking, to give people the impression that she's not like these other slutty girls out here who are only here for sex. These girls believe that we believe that she's here for a meaningful connection and possibly a relationship, that she is somehow different or somehow special. Now, Ms. Horton used this line for years, and in the past, this is when she was in her 20s, right? When she was in her 20s, she didn't actually mean she wasn't there to hook up. Again, girls like this use this line so that men don't think that they're easy, so men don't think they're promiscuous. But now that Amy is in her mid-30s, she does indeed actually mean that she's not there to hook up. In her 20s, she used to shit test guys to see if they had the balls to see through her good girl facade and run the proper game to sleep with her. But now in her 30s, she's saying exactly the same thing. But these days, it's not a test. It's not it really is what she means. So when dudes with game are used to closing promiscuous girls on the first night, when they figure out that Amy isn't kidding, they think to themselves, wait a minute, she's actually serious? She really isn't looking to hook up? What happens is they ghost on her, and that's why she's not getting any dates. That's why these guys aren't following through. You cannot expect men to treat you like a lady when you've acted like an easy lay for a decade and a half. It does not work that way. Just because you decide, Ms. Horton, that you're not going to sleep with anything with a Y chromosome and a pulse who swipes right, doesn't mean these dudes are going to go on dates with you. Doesn't mean they're going to treat you any differently. Okay? Ms. Horton is literally telling these dudes, you are not getting sex tonight, and doing it in a way that isn't a test. She is dead serious, and dudes who are looking for easy lays are not here for that. Then she says she's open to dating different kinds of men. Can't know it works unless I try, she says. What this means, gentlemen, is that white dudes aren't checking for her as much anymore. White guys are passing her up for younger, tighter versions of her 20-something self. Seeing that her options are becoming more and more limited the older she gets, all of a sudden now she's open-minded and willing to try new things, meaning races of other men. You see, when she was young and hot, she was only swiping right for white guys, right? But now she's taken the route that a lot of white girls who have hit the wall and not getting as much attention from the white guys who used to run through her in her 20s, which of course is interracial dating. Now, some of you guys might ask, well, how do you know she's on dating apps? Well, simple. When she says she can't find a guy to follow through, it means that she's been in contact with the guy. And if a man approaches a woman out in the real world, it is highly unlikely that he'll flake because of his initial investment, which is overcoming his approach anxiety, approaching her, striking up conversation with her, swatting away shit tests, and getting her number. Getting a girl's number out on the street is hard work, guys. It takes effort and intestinal fortitude. I'm here to tell you, I did it for years. If dudes are flaking on her and dudes are ghosting on her, they didn't have much invested in her in the first place, which means they just swiped right, which doesn't take any effort. The less the initial investment is, the more likely it is that someone will flake. And this actually, as it happens, goes for both men and women. This is why we tell guys to reduce the odds of flaking, make sure she's invested in some kind of way. The more she's invested in you, the less likely it is that she'll flake. Let's go to number 2. The dating scene, she says, is getting worse and worse. If I had known a few years ago that things would deteriorate to this level, I would have found me a good man and locked him down. I had no idea that Tinder would come out and swiftly create the demise of good old-fashioned romance. I hate this new dating world we live in, she says. I want nothing more than to destroy all dating apps and the awful way they've ruined interactions. When she says things would deteriorate, she didn't know things would deteriorate. She's talking about herself, right? She doesn't realize that she doesn't realize that she is talking about herself, because surely she's every bit as attractive at 34 as she was when she was 24. So the fact that she doesn't have as many options has nothing to do with her deterioration. Oh no, it's the sexual marketplace that's deteriorated. That's the problem. Guys, even though the wall comes fast for women and their attraction drops precipitously after they hit the wall, they're always the last to know or acknowledge that they have indeed hit the wall. Amy Horton has no idea that Father Time is collecting his debt for having given her absolute power over men for the better part of a decade, and she won't figure this out until a guy tells her, hey, you know what? I've never really dated an older woman. That's when it's going to hit her. That's when it's going to hit her like a ton of bricks, and that's going to be a rude awakening, to be sure. Now, she said she would have found a good man to lock him down had she known things would deteriorate at this level. She's saying that because of the deterioration of the sexual marketplace, there aren't as many good guys out there. But what she fails to realize is that there aren't as many good guys available to her. And her blindness to her own decline in sexual market value makes her think that there aren't as many good guys around. This statement indirectly and literally says, where have all the good guys gone? Which is the calling card of a woman who has been passed around for an extended period of time. She says that Tinder has diminished old-fashioned romance and that she hates this new dating world, which is actually quite funny because she's actually on Tinder and has been for a while. Women cannot expect good old-fashioned romance if they're on dating apps. If you want good old-fashioned romance, then delete all of your apps and make yourself more approachable in the real world. You know, being kind instead of bitchy, looking men in the eye instead of looking at your phone, dressing like a feminine woman instead of a 17-year-old hipster computer hacker, those things. Girls are always confused as to why men don't approach as much as they used to, and there are really three main reasons. Okay? Number one, the West has criminalized approaching women in public by making catcalling and just merely striking up conversation against the law in some areas. Number two, they're just not approachable. I just talked about that. And number three, girls are online giving away their bodies like it's Halloween candy. Why would men risk embarrassment, humiliation, and possible criminal prosecution trying to strike up conversation with girls who look like men and act like they have no interest in men when they can just bypass all of that nonsense by opening up their phones? Tinder didn't ruin the face-to-face interactions. Women did. You see, Tinder is simply the digital manifestation of the romantic female transformation. Girls don't want guys to approach them in public. They don't want to have to make an effort to look feminine and presentable in public to get attention, and they don't want to have to publicly display their interest in men. So, Tinder was created to satisfy these objectives, and predictably, women are complaining about it, especially older women who aren't getting as much attention as they used to. Instead of destroying all dating apps, how about women start acting like women again? That's the only way face-to-face interactions will really start to make a comeback. Number three, there are so many options available that guys don't try at all. She says it's like sitting there with a huge menu in front of them, and it's so overwhelming that they cannot decide what to eat. If they try me out and I am not immediately to their liking, they move on easily. There's no need for effort, and it's sickening. Of course, they blow me off. They barely even think of me as a human being. I am just another face on the screen. Oh, how the tide has turned on Ms. Horton. You see, guys, what she is describing is the inverse of what she experienced in her 20s. You see, in her 20s, she sat there with a huge menu of men in front of her. In her 20s, she was so overwhelmed that she couldn't decide what to eat, or in other words, who to sleep with. If the men she tried out were not immediately to her liking, she was the one who moved on easily. In her 20s, she didn't have to make any effort, and she blew off countless men. She didn't think of men as human beings. They were just another face on the screen. You know, it's funny when women complain or when women don't like when men play the game better than they do, right? A woman will lie to men. She'll cheat on boyfriends. She'll use men they have women will use men they have zero sexual interest in for free dinners and divorce rape their husbands. But as soon as one man plays the game better than she does and gets over on her, oh, now it's a problem. Now it's men ain't shit. Guys, there are countless articles talking about girls who use men for free meals by misleading them about their sexual interest in them. Everybody praises these women for this brilliant plan. But then as soon as we get a guy like the dine and dash dater out in California who is dining and dashing on women, now it's a problem. He gets jail time and national ridicule while women get a pat on the back. Females hate it when they do not have a decided advantage on the dating market. And there are really only two things that put them at a disadvantage. Number one, they run up on a dude who just plays the game better than they do. And number two, they get old. And this is where Amy Horton finds herself now. What she did with men in her 20s is exactly what is being done to her now, and she doesn't like it. Then she wants to whine about, I'm just another face on the screen. Cry me a river, ho. Number 4. Men constantly decide I am too much work. Because I have needs and feelings, she says, and I'm not some accommodating robot, I'm too much trouble to bother with. There are so many options online that they can easily find some girl who doesn't require anything of them. I avoid all the douchebags by refusing to let go of my standards, but I'm getting rejected by so many men that it's starting to screw with my head. You know, it's funny when women describe their neuroticism and their unrealistic expectations as needs or feelings, right? Girls are so impossible to deal with these days. It's no wonder dudes are only using them for sex. The less time you spend with a girl, the less of a headache she can be. But here's Ms. Horton's main problem. When she says, I'm too much trouble to bother with, she has no idea that it means she's simply not worth dealing with anymore. Young, pretty girls get more leeway in the way of dating because they are young and pretty. It's a cost-benefit analysis. A female's youth and beauty make her dealing with her nonsense worth it to some degree. It's just like sports. For all you sports fans out there, the more talented player X is, the more shenanigans Team Y will put up with. Antonio Brown and Odell Beckham Jr. come to mind immediately for me. These guys are constant distractions in the locker room and in the media, but because of their talent and because of their production on the field, teams deal with it. Terrell Owens was also in that camp. He was a huge distraction in San Francisco. He then came to Philadelphia, here to Philly, blew up that locker room and did the same thing in Dallas. Okay? Teams put up with that. But when his skills diminished, he couldn't even get a contract with the Bengals. He played for the Bengals and they decided, you know what? Thanks, but no thanks. Amy Horton is the equivalent of Terrell Owens, guys. Guys used to deal with her nonsense, but because she was young and pretty. But now that she's in her 30s, dudes ain't trying to deal with her nonsense anymore. But instead of saying, I'm too old to put up with, she says, I'm too much trouble to bother with, as if to imply that men are the issue and not her diminishing beauty. Then she complains that there are girls out there who don't require anything of them. This, again, is a female who expects men to cater to her for no other reason but that she's a woman, and she is surprised that there are other women who understand that at their advanced age, that beggars can't be choosers. Some women get it, she doesn't. These are the musings, guys, of a female who is grossly overestimating her own sexual market value. The fact that she indirectly says that she requires things from these men is laughable. What exactly are you requiring? You want men to open doors for you? You want men to be a gentleman to you who treat you like a lady? Sweetie, you're about to be 35 years old, okay? You had your chance to dictate what you wanted out of men in your 20s, but because your sexual currency is next to nothing, now you want to complain that other women your age have figured out that they're in no position to make requirements of men? What sense does that make? Then she says she's refusing to let go of her standards, and that's the problem. As a post-wall female who has been rode hard and put away wet, you don't get to have standards anymore, boo. Ms. Horton, you'll take what you can get because your options are limited, and that's what's really screwing with your head. Guys, if you want laser focus and a good, clean, controlled energy to get a lot done in a short period of time, you need Gorilla Mind Rush. I told you guys yesterday I tried it last month, and I've used it ever since, including when I was on vacation. Just 3 tablets with a cup of black coffee in the morning, and my mind and body work at peak operating efficiency. I power through my workouts, and I have more than enough mental and physical stamina left over to prepare for my show, do my consultations, and stay hyper-focused and undistracted the entire time. Now, obviously, today it took me a little bit longer because things went a little bit over. We run behind. Anyway, 15 minutes after you take Gorilla Mind Rush, you start to notice a subtle change in your mindset. 15 minutes after that, you'll notice you are much more focused, you are thinking more clearly, you'll be a little more energetic, and your motivation to be productive goes up. About an hour in, you will feel noticeably more focused and can concentrate even with distractions around. You'll feel less stressed and less anxious. After 90 minutes, you are in full Gorilla Mind Rush mode. Your focus, your concentration, your memory, your recall will be far beyond your normal state, and you will stay this way for at least 6 hours. And get this, guys, there is no crash. You get all the benefits of your mind being hyper-focused for a long period of time without the cliff when it wears off. I took a Gorilla Mind Rush at around 6 this morning, and here I am more than 7 hours later, and I'm still going strong. Guys, if you need this kind of focus, if you need this kind of energy, if you need to be productive while also supporting the show, go to donovansharpe.com/Gorilla Mind Rush. Will put the link in the chat, and I will also put the link in the description. All right, let's continue. Number 5, I demand common courtesy, she says. Therefore, I am considered a pain in the ass. She continues, women must have horribly low standards these days because guys are always shocked when I want them to give me respectful treatment. Yes, if you want the pleasure of my company, I expect you to plan a date. It doesn't have to be fancy, but at least come up with something. The level of laziness among single men is appalling. No wonder none of them have girlfriends. Now she's resorting to the name calling, guys. You're a douchebag. No wonder girls don't like you. You don't have a girlfriend. No wonder you don't have a girlfriend. When females start saying things like this, they know that the end is near. Anyway, it's not that women have incredibly low standards, Ms. Horton. It's that your standards are too high for your sexual market value. You see, men are shocked when you want them to give you respectful treatment because you're 35, you're past the wall, and you don't act like a lady. Here's another thing that women of all ages are grossly unaware of. You have to earn respectful treatment from men who are worth a damn. You don't just get to show up and get treated like a lady because you have 2X chromosomes. Now, back in the day, treating a woman like a lady was standard because just about every female was worthy of respectful treatment. Why? Because they were respectful. Women back then didn't wear pajamas in public. They didn't give it up to anything with a Y chromosome and a smile. They said please and thank you and smiled and were pleasant. But women these days are literally the polar opposite. Guys, today's women are the furthest they've been in terms of being worthy of respectful treatment from men than they've ever been in history. So Amy Horton expecting respectful treatment when she's acted like a neurotic, entitled, and promiscuous woman until, I don't know, maybe about 15 minutes ago, that's laughable. And newsflash, Ms. Horton, your company is not pleasurable unless we're having sex with you, and even then, it's lackluster. Guys, this is how women think. They think that by simply being present, that you are indebted to them. Well, he owes me respectful treatment at dinner and drinks because my presence alone is worth all that. Get the hell out of here with that. Are you serious? If I swipe right, Donovan Sharpe, if I swipe right on a 30-something slut, the only thing I'm planning is the time I schedule my Uber to come and get me after I blow her back out for 6.5 minutes. I ain't sticking around for chit-chat or her valuable company, and neither is anybody else. Oh, and by the way, Ms. Horton, the reason why these men don't have girlfriends is because none of these hoes is worth committing to, and they know this and act accordingly, which is to blow your backs out, then bounce like a bad check before you get your bra back on. Funny, you act like the reason that they don't have girlfriends, right? You act like this is the reason they don't have girlfriends, yet you're visibly bothered by the fact that they rejected you. So if you're feeling some type of way about being rejected by men who are supposedly losers, then what's that say about you and your choice of men? Number 6. Even when I think things are going well, I get ghosted. She continues, sometimes guys actually lead me to believe they're interested. Oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, women never done this before. They say lots of pretty things and compliment me. They state their excitement to spend time with me. Funny enough, when it comes down to actually jumping in, they suddenly make excuses and disappear. What kind of a world do I live in where guys are too afraid to actually meet in person? It's bizarre. Guys, there's nothing bizarre about this. This is simply a byproduct of a man with more options than you. He'll swipe right on you because you're decent looking. He'll express his excitement to spend time with you and all that. But what she's not telling us are 2 of the main reasons dudes are flaking on her. Number 1, she makes it crystal clear that she's not looking to hook up by shutting down any attempt at sexual escalation. And number 2, she then demands common courtesy. Guys, this woman is in her mid-30s, but she's acting like she's in her mid-20s, and this repels men in demand. They're not trying to deal with a female who has an inflated sense of entitlement and then tries to force them to treat them like a young, pretty girl worthy of courtesy and respect. They're not ghosting because they're afraid to meet up. They're ghosting on you because you're a used 1998 Ford Mustang with 257,000 miles on it, but you got a price tag of a 2020 Mustang Stingray. Dudes ain't paying sticker for a used car, hun. That's not fear. That's called common sense. Number 7. I get tossed aside so frequently that it is messing with my head. I had to delete all the dating apps, she says. I know that I am a wonderful woman and a great girlfriend, but the callous disregard of men online made me question my own self-worth. I started thinking that maybe there's something really wrong with me and that these guys find me too intimidating and ambitious for them. In reality, I can't change the fact that they're so insecure. She's a critical mass here, guys. Oh, yes, don't get it twisted. She, like most post-wall females, blames everyone and everything but herself for her declining sexual market value. Instead of acknowledging that she's older and less attractive, she blames the deterioration of the dating market. Instead of realizing that she's just not worth the trouble anymore, she blames other women for having low standards and being too accommodating, which means actually acting like you like the guy. God forbid. Instead of understanding that her company outside of sex isn't worth dealing with, she blames men's laziness and cites that as the reason they don't have girlfriends. And then she says that men are afraid to meet up with her, instead of coming to the realization that dudes have better options available to them. So now here she is, at number 7, blaming men once again for her own deficiencies. She's just too intimidating and ambitious for them. They're so insecure. The funny thing is she almost kept it real with herself when she says she's starting to think that there's something wrong with her. But then she immediately reverses skate and goes right back to the insults and blaming men for not choosing to be with her. If she were such a wonderful woman and a great girlfriend, she would be with someone, right? Like, that's the simple math. But she isn't, so she's not. And in order to sleep at night, she has to tell herself and others that there's nothing wrong with her, but something wrong with men. This is the typical rhetoric of females who are getting left behind for younger, kinder, more feminine women. And it's as simple as that. Number 8. I like who I am, but it seems most guys don't. I'm tired of men who say one thing and then either back out of it or act completely the opposite. One minute I'm the coolest, most genuine, interesting, grounded woman they've ever met. The next, I'm too much for them and they feel that I deserve better than them. Just be honest and quit with the lame cop-out, she says. I like who I am, but this pattern makes me feel bad. This is the classic case of a woman who is on her best behavior in the beginning. Like all women, she's cool and genuine and in the beginning. Of course she is. She's putting on a facade, a front, a mask. But because men don't like what they see behind the mask, when she starts to show her true colors, she gets butthurt that they don't stick around. A woman, gentlemen, can only fake the funk for so long. Eventually, she is going to show him who she really is. And if she is dealing with a man with options, a high-value man, he's not going to stick around to deal with her nonsense. Ladies, you can't get mad when you look and sound like a Ferrari for the first 2 weeks, but then bitch and moan when he takes you back to the dealership after he opens the hood and sees the engine of a Toyota Camry. You cannot expect men to stay with you if you pull a bait and switch. Then she talks about lame cop-outs, right? Because surely Amy Horton's never used a lame cop-out like, I need to find myself. It's not you, it's me. You deserve better. I need some me time. I'm not being true to myself. This, again, is a woman who gets mad at dudes who are running the same gambit on them that she used to run on men in her 20s. Like I said, women love the game when they win, but they hate it when men play it better than they do. Number 9. I try not to take rejection personally, but I have feelings. I do try to remember that because it's all online, people don't treat me like a real person. It's easy to swipe left or flake out or disregard another human like they don't exist. I try not to make it about me, but when it happens over and over again, I do feel hurt. I'm a sensitive being whether I like it or not. That's why I've decided I'm better off not trying to date at all. Here's a thought, Amy. How about you take the advice that I gave you earlier? How about you do the hard thing by getting offline, becoming more pleasant, acting more feminine, dressing like a lady, and becoming approachable so that men of value will find you out in the real world. This way, if they approach you and strike up conversation, it means that they might actually like you. And when he asks you for your phone number and you give it to him, he's not likely to flake or ghost on you because he's got skin in the game. Yes, he's invested. What's that you say? It's too much trouble. You don't have time. Guys aren't worth the trouble. My mistake. Amy Horton is experiencing what all women experience at some point, and that is realizing that she actually has to work for something she's used to getting for nothing. In her 20s, all she had to be was there, and she had dudes lining up to be with her. But now that she's not young and pretty anymore, she finds herself having to earn what was given to her before with zero effort involved on her part. And because we know that women like Amy never do what's not easy, she's decided she's better off not to try to date at all. Doesn't surprise me one bit. Number 10, it makes me feel small and invisible to be passed over so frequently. I've gotten to the point where I don't even know how to talk to men anymore. I'm so afraid I'll think the wrong thing or show interest only to be dismissed yet again. It seems easier to ignore them altogether. I thought I could do this and wait for a guy to really try to win me over, but no one is trying. And sometimes I feel like the most unappealing woman alive. Oh, boo-hoo. You see, the reason why you think you don't know how to talk to men anymore, Amy, is because you've never had to. Okay? Men showed all the interest in your 20s. They carried the conversation. He did all the work, and you sat back and simply decided whether or not you sleep with him. You used to have the luxury of sitting back and waiting for the guy to win you over, but you do not have that luxury anymore. The reason no one is trying is because you are an unappealing woman, at least not as appealing as you used to be. I love her sad attempt at sort of fishing for compliments with the, I feel like I'm the most unappealing woman alive. And men are supposed to just come to her rescue and say, oh no, Amy, that's not the case at all. You are very appealing. That is not about to be me, and it better not about to be anybody else. A lot of you simps out there buy into this stuff. A girl says, oh, I'm just not worth it anymore. You guys jump to her rescue. Oh, you're totally worth it, wife and material. Quit gassing up these post-wall broads, guys. They've made their bed and now they got to lay in it. There's no need for you to make up their bed for them. Number 11, I almost feel like I'm losing my sanity. She continues, it's hard to maintain a sense of self when everything that is happening hints to the contrary. I know I'm not being ridiculous and asking for common decency, but then that evil little voice in my head whispers, what if you're crazy? What if you're really the problem? I have to tell it to shut up so I don't lose my mind. Oh, now she's keeping it 100. Guys, now she's starting to acknowledge that she is the common denominator in her declining sexual market value. You see, those whispers in her head that ask her if she's crazy and that if she's the real problem, she knows the answers to both of those questions. And the fact that she has to tell it to shut up tells us that she knows she is crazy. She knows she is the problem. But so she can sleep at night, like most women her age, they have to lie to themselves. And when they are no longer able to lie to themselves, they call their doctors and tell them, I don't know what's wrong with me. And what ends up happening is they get prescribed Lexapro to keep them from attempting suicide during the day, clonazepam to calm her anxiety about the fact that the most meaningful relationships she'll have moving forward are with her cats and her favorite wine glass, and Ambien to knock her out at night so she doesn't have to listen to those voices that are telling her the truth about herself. Again, the fact that she has to tamp down those voices lets us know all we need to know, that she sees the writing on the wall. Finally, number 12. She says, I love my life, but being dismissed by men puts a damper on it. It's easier to ignore dudes altogether than to allow them to cast a shadow on my otherwise awesome life. I'm very happy, except when it comes to love. It definitely affects me sometimes. I do want romance in my life, though I don't need it. It's tough to keep reminding myself how good I have it, even though men are constantly blowing me off. Dude, listen to how she goes. This is hamster in overdrive. Just listen, or just look at how she goes back and forth on admitting that she needs a man to be happy. She doesn't want to admit this, so she does her best to save face, but then she keeps letting it slip that she is unhappy without a man. First, it's my life is awesome. Then it's I'm very happy except when it comes to love. First, it's I have a great life, but then it's men blowing me off makes it tough for me to remind myself that my life is indeed awesome. Gentlemen, this paragraph right here, number 12, this is the quintessential example of a woman who is trying to be like a man, but she can't because she's a woman. You see, men don't need women to be happy, guys. Yes, they elevate our lives, and they often do. But they are far from necessary for us to be truly happy. Only now are we just now beginning to realize this. But they are far from, but for men, women are a luxury and not a necessity. I will say this again. For men of value, men that get it, women are simply a luxury and not a necessity. We want them, we do not need them. Females would love to think that they're exactly the same way, but they're not. Men are a necessity to women, not a luxury. They can tell themselves, and they can tell others, well, I don't need a man, but I want one. Well, I don't need a man, but I want one. But I don't need one. They go back and forth. A man who needs a woman is weak. A woman who completes a man isn't a man. He is a male who needs a woman. Steve the Dean talks about this all the time. This is why men understand that we must be self-sufficient in every way in order to be complete men, which means not needing a woman to be happy. Women are exactly the opposite. But because they keep trying to be men, they end up as miserable. Ladies, listen, Uncle Donovan is going to try to help you out. I don't try to help you guys often, but Uncle Donovan is going to try to help you out. If you haven't heard anything I've said today, I am pleading with you to understand this. Needing a man doesn't make you weak. It makes you a woman. And there's nothing wrong with being a woman unless you're trying to be a man. Amy Horton is clearly distraught about the fact that the men she wants do not want her. If you're so content without men, then why does your title say that you're literally questioning everything? I'll tell you why. Because the true value of a woman is determined by the man you can attract and subsequently lock down. For a woman, true happiness means belonging to a man, having a relationship of consequence with a man you respect and love. The world doesn't care about your accomplishments as a single woman. Yes, the world blows smoke up your asses and tell you guys how great and wonderful you are. But no matter what the world says, the world knows that the true measure of a woman is a woman who gets married to a man of value, has children, and is a good wife and mother. When you're young, your value is determined by your youth and beauty. But your youth and beauty don't mean a damn thing if you use it to sport fuck your way through your 20s and have 3 abortions because you pretend to be allergic to latex and lambskin, and you ladies know it. So Amy, spare me with the I want a man, but I don't need one rhetoric. Because the fact that you even wrote this article indicates very clearly that is quite literally the opposite. Ladies, enough with this facade. Just be honest with yourselves and others and admit that you need a man and act accordingly. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.